Hey gang, it's amazing how many racists exist amongst black people. Listen to the assertions made by this youngster, Clement Manyathela, in his interview with Ronald Lamola.
Cabinet still has to function. I want to give you an example, Clement. Cabinet means twice. It means twice a month, once a fortnight. So if cabinet will have to wait every time to make a decision, it must go through the governance council. There will be a state of paralysis. This country can't function.
Unfortunately, you guys have decided to go into bed with a political party whose policies you fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah, but
that is
there should not be a distortion of what the GNU should do, particularly the governance processes of the GNU and what the cabinet protocols must do in line with the constitution. So that is the point that we are raising.
Okay.
And that is why we disagree with the DA's letter, because it also overrides the principles in the constitution. And I mean, the constitution is not only about when the DA wants to hold someone to account. It's also when we deal with governance processes. And the governance processes are very clear as to who the executive authority of the state is vested on. And that's why even when you read the statement of intent, it then puts issues into perspective in terms of separating issues dealing with cabinet and issues that relates to the policy issues that must go through the governance council.
Do you guys begin to notice the agenda that Clement Manyathela in these interviews with Fikile Mbalula, with Helen Zille, and now with Ronald Lamola, he's pushing, and with Lindiwe Sisulu? Do you see the agenda that he's pushing? He's literally pushing an agenda that it is incorrect for the ANC to go into this GNU with the Democratic Alliance because they've got policies that are diametrically opposed. Can you see that? This is how dangerous and subtle the media when it pushes its narrative, right? You may miss it if you're not paying particular attention to the line of questioning, because I've always been asking myself from the Fikile Mbalula's interview, why is he obsessing over this matter? Because if there is a misunderstanding between the ANC and the DA and Fikile Mbalula signed the GNU and so on and so forth, both these political parties are constitutionalists, meaning they put the constitution above all else. And therefore, all is not lost. They'll find one another. Except you have an underlying problem, which now keeps on coming out in his interviews, that in his mind, because these two political parties are diametrically opposed in terms of policies, therefore they shouldn't be forming a GNU. He says, unfortunately, you guys have formed a GNU with a political party that you vehemently disagree with in terms of your policies. That's neither here nor there, good people. I want you to understand this. What is important in any political party is the fact that in the ANC is a broad church, right? What does that mean? That means in the ANC, you have got COSATU, you have got SACP, which is the extreme left, okay? And then you had people, MK, which is the RET faction, which are non-constitutionalist, that obviously have been subdued. And then you've got the constitutionalists who are leaning towards the right side of politics, right? So ANC is a broad church. There is no such a thing that the ANC is vehemently opposed to the DA. The president currently of the ANC is in the center and is in terms of his policies or constitutional framework, in terms of his policy framework, he is a constitutionalist. And therefore, he subscribes to the rule of law. And that's what is important here if you are going to run a country forward in the midst of the results of the elections. So it's not important what Clement Manyathela thinks. It's not important what any other journalist thinks. What is important is the status quo. The results of the elections are forcing this political party to work together. If the EFF was smart, they would have recognized this. If MK was smart, they would have recognized this. That is not about our ideology. It's about, this is an opportunity to come together form a government, we can influence one another towards a particular direction to achieve something for our constituency, but we can only do that if we are in a government. But if we are not in a government, we would not be able to achieve that. That's why the DA and the ANC came together. One of the reasons is this: the ANC knew that if all the other political parties forged and formed a government together, as Floyd Shivambu had suggested prior to the elections, the ANC would have been left out in the cold, the same way MK was left out in the cold in KZN. Even though they have 45%, they are not in government. They are just in opposition. Do you see that? They don't have one single MMC that belongs to them, precisely because a coalition government was formed and they were left in the cold. So the ANC was very much aware of that dynamic that was about to unfold. That, hey, we only have 40% of the votes. Almost 60% is in the opposition parties. And if those guys forge a government, regardless of the fact that they've got divergent views on a number of issues, but they all can be brought together by one thing, that they are South Africans and they want to run this country towards whatever direction they want to run it. The ANC was fully aware and alive to the fact that they could run this country to whichever, they could run it to Cuba, they could run it to Venezuela, they could run it to whichever direction they wanted to run it. Hence, then the African National Congress then said, you know what? We are going to form a government of national unity. We have 40%, anybody wants to join us. Do you see that? So people were therefore focused by the negotiation skills of the African National Congress's ruling elite to say, hey, you come and join us. They could have said, no, we reject that. We're not joining you. We don't want you in government. We're going to form a government by ourselves. And then started negotiating amongst themselves. But because they are not that smart, what did they do? They focused on their differences. Hence, they couldn't form a government, right? And people like Clement Manyathela, JJ Mataban, who are anti-white, right, are pushing this wrong narrative now that the GNU that has a DA is a wrong GNU for the country. No, 1,000 times no. We are not all racists. We're not all born yesterday. Clement Manyathela is 34 years old. That means when our democracy started, he was 4 years. He knows nothing about apartheid. Okay? We cannot rehash and practice apartheid again. We need all capable individuals. If we are going to create jobs, if Clement Manyathela is going to continue having a job as he has right now, right, we need a capable state. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the DA making demands, right? Why? The argument by Lamula here is that the DA are constitutionalists. We are also constitutionalists. They can't only be constitutionalists when it comes to things that benefits them. He's 100% correct in that. However, having said all of that, he's being hypocritical by not pointing out to Clement Manyathela to say, remember, the ANC did not win outright majority. So we are pushed in a position that the Constitution has not envisaged. Yes, the Constitution says the president must appoint the, the executive. However, how did the president get to be elected? The president got to be elected only because we have a GNU. If these guys had a different GNU, Ramaphosa would not be president. And that's why, therefore, it is important for the ANC to tone down its rhetoric of saying, look, these people are serving at our behest, because that's not the case. Ramaphosa is a president because of the DA and the PA, all the political parties that voted for Ramaphosa. This is important. So everybody now has to tone down. The DA is well within its right to make its demands, so is the PA and all other political parties. And these demands are not being made because these political parties are being outlandish or are being ridiculous. No, they are bringing to the ANC's attention. You can no longer do what you please. You can no longer run a government in any way. We are here to run a government because the people have spoken. The people have not given you authority to form a government by yourself. For you to form a government, you needed us. And so here we are. And do not forget, in making decisions and now go and make a ridiculous decision where the entire cabinet is formulated of your cadres from the ANC, yet we the ones who gave you the president. Why are they doing that? It's obviously they are doing that because they also represent a certain group of electorate, isn't it? And Also, it's very important for the country how this GNU looks to the investors out there, right? Now, of course, a number of you are going to say, here comes the markets again. You despise the markets in a free market economy at your own peril. It's pretty clear that I'm a free market economy advocate. I'm a capitalist, true and true. I don't believe the other policies work. They have not worked anywhere. So before you comment, please consider that we are in a free market environment in South Africa. We are not in a communist state. So when I talk about the market, don't have twins, okay? Otherwise, renew your mind, understand where we are. Coming back, therefore, to the discussion, I'm not quite sure if you guys have not been noticing, but please pay attention. You see now JJ is catching hell precisely because of this type of racist ideology that a black government was supposed to form. Clement Manyathela may not be that overt about it. He may still be covert, but you can pick it up in his assertions because he's seeking to brew a storm in a teacup between the DA and the ANC. Basically, if it were for him, this relationship should cease to exist. And I'm saying to you, if that relationship ceased to exist, South Africa would actually be in a relationship between the EFF, MK, and the RET faction of the ANC. Do you know what does that mean? That means Venezuela for South Africa. Tell me down below what you think. Those are my thoughts concerning Manyathela's assertions here. Tell me what you think down below. Am I taking his assertions too far? If you think so, please tell me down below, considering everything that I have said. Okay, till the next video. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.